Hey fellow beaders, it is JP and I'm back with another tutorial, and today I'm going to show you how to make the bracelet. So if you watched my last one, I showed you how to make these post earrings and I showed you how to make the component. So today we're going to put the component together and create a bracelet. And so here it is. Now my bracelet is exactly... Here's my ruler. So if we go by inches, so I'm going to go ahead and line it up to the end of the clasp loop. So, and just slide that over. And it's just a little over 6 inches. Make sure that that's all perfect. So it is exactly 6 inches. So in order to make a 6-inch bracelet, I made 9 components. Yes, so a total of 9 components. And you can sort of figure it out from there. Basically, you need about 2 of these components. Well, yeah. An inch is like a component and a half is what 1 inch is. So it kind of helps you figure out how many beads you'll need in order to make the bracelet. So I'm using 4mm pearls, but you do not have to use 4mm pearls. You could use any 4mm bead. You could even try this with a 3mm. It's going to sit a little bit closer to the edge of the seed beads, but you can try it with that. You could try it with rondelles, fire polish, bicones. So you have lots of possibilities. I did pearls, but you could use other rounds, you know, glass rounds, etc. So 4mm or even a 3. Then 11s, and this is an optional bead. You don't even actually have to add it in if you don't want to, but I added a 2mm bead in the center. And you can use anything else. You can use an 11 in here in the center or an 8. Those will work too. Do not have to have a 2mm bead. So if that's not something you have in your stash, then you know you could just pop in one of these 11s in here and it looks just as good. So I am using the the crystal 6-pound fire line here. There's a big, oh wait, I guess I should turn it this way and you'll see the label. Beading thread, and I've got the 6-pound in the crystal. You'll need a beading needle of your choice, 10 or 12, and oh, these are the seed beads, specific ones that I'm using. It's the Mayuki galvanized yellow gold from Aura Crystals is where I purchased these. So if anybody wants to know the exact color that I'm using, then that's what it is. The pearls over here I got, these are just glass pearls. Purchased from Michael's. There's their red label pearls, and these are glass pearl champagne is what the color is. It just looks white. They called it champagne, but to me it just looks white. So that's the pearl. And I don't, these 2mm beads you can kind of get anywhere. I don't know exactly the source that I got these from. I think Art Beats might have them. So Swarovski does make them. So you can find, wherever you find Swarovski pearls, you can find these. And that is it to get started. So let's get started. All right, so you're going to start off by picking up 8 11s. That's what I've got here in my thread. And then I am just going to go back through the beads. So going through every single one of these beads. And just hold on to the tail like I am, and then pull your thread all the way through. So you should get a ring, and then go through about another 4 of the beads, like so, and that should help tighten this up and give you a smushed ring like this. And don't worry, this will actually even out in just a bit as we continue working. I'm just going to make my tail thread a little bit longer there. Alright, so what you need to do now is tie a 1/2-inch knot. So it just doesn't matter anywhere here between the seed beads. And then just tighten it, pull on both ends of the thread if you have to, and then go into the next 2 11s. So each side of our right angle right angle weave unit is going to be 2 seed beads. So there's 4 sides in a raw unit, so each here is going to be 2 seed beads. All right, so now to make the next unit, what you're going to do is pick up 6 11s. And 6, so there it is, 6. And then just go back through those 2 beads here. And I'm going to try to keep my thumb from blocking the view. As you can see, I'm just going back through those same 2 units. And now you've got 2 units of raw, and what you're going to do is go through the next 2 11s. And this grabbed my tail thread. So before I continue, I'm actually going to trim off that tail thread. So use my thread zapper and just get that out of the way. Okay, so as I said, I'm coming out of these 2 beads. So to make the next unit, I still need to do 6 beads. And 6, so there they are, there's my 6. And I'm going to go back around these 2 beads now. And this is what I should have. Make sure everything's tight. And then I just flip the work over. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to work my way around this unit first. So I'm going to go through the 6 beads that I added on. Just like so, and then I'm going to go into the next 2 beads over here, and this is actually the first unit that we made. So I'm coming out of these 2 and going into these next 2. Oh, I think I missed one. There we go. And since this actually has already 4 beads that are going to get shared, you only need to pick up 4 beads. So there's my 4. And we are going to go into these 2 and then back through the 2 where the thread is coming out of. Just like so. And then all you want to do is go into the next 2 beads here. And so you should at this point have 4 units of raw, and this is what it's going to look like. So, and don't worry, all of this will straighten out as we go. So as I said, each side of our raw is 2 of the seed beads. So you can kind of see this nice neat square there. Now what I'm going to do is embellish with my 4mm fire polish. So I pick up one of my 4mm. I'm using pearls, but you could use whatever you like. And I'm going to go into the 2 beads that are directly opposite. So here's where my thread is coming out and it's going down. So I'm going to go down directly opposite. Just like that. And then I'm going to pick up another 4mm. And I'm going to do the same thing once again. So I'm coming out of these 2, and they're kind of hidden now because of the pearl, but there they are. And I am going to go into the 2 that are directly opposite. So just make sure you're paying attention to which beads that is. So directly opposite is those 2 right there. And so there you have your 2 of the 4mm are now sitting. And what we're going to do is I'm going to flip the work upside down, or to the back rather. So here's the 2 11s that we're coming out of. I'm just going to turn it over. And this will make it much easier to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to pause this here a second because I'm going to fix the lighting. All right, so I'm coming out of these 2 beads down here, and I'm going to work my way across where I'm coming out of these 2 beads over on this side. And so you actually have to work and follow the thread path. So go into the next 2 here. And then here on these 2 set of beads that are between my 2 pearls. And this work is harder to hold and keep steady on camera. So I do apologize just because it's a small piece. And then I'm going to go to these 2 beads here. I'm just going to turn it so my wrist is a little more comfortable. And then over here, just the 2. So, and my pearl got a little loose, so I'm just going to tighten that up. And I just tighten that up. Okay, so I am coming out of those 2 down here. So we're doing basically the same thing on this side now. I'm going to pick up my 4mm bead. And so I'm coming out of those 2 down there. I'm going to go directly opposite and come down through those 2 right there. And, oops, get that. And get that to pop right into position. And then I'm going to add the last one here. Get that 4mm. So again, I'm coming out of those 2 here. So these 2 are directly opposite. I'm just going to turn it and so just turn it the other direction. That's all. And there we have it. All of them, all 4 of the units now have a pearl over them. And so the next step is to fill in the gaps around the seed beads. So as you can see here from the back, all of the seed beads have these little gaps between them. So I'm going to fill that in. So here I'm coming out of these 2 here. And I'm always going to be going into 2 of the 11s. So I'm going to pick up 1 11, which is what I did here, and I'm going to go into the next 2 11s. And then again, I'm going to fill in the gap between these 2 11s, or between this set and this set over here. So put a seed bead there, and so I picked up an 11, and I'm going into the next 2. And then over here, turning the corner. So as you can see, I had a little point there, so now it's time to do the next corner. So coming up out of these 2, turn the corner, pick up a bead, and then go into the next 2 here. And then repeat again, pick up an 11, and go into the next 2 11s. Pick up an 11, go into these next 2. And once again, pick up an 11, go in the next 2. Almost done. Pick up an 11 and go through the next 2. And I've got one last one to add. Pick up an 11, oops. There's my 11. And I'm going to go into the next 2 and then into that bead at the corner. So I'm actually going into the next 3. And so there you have it. Now there's beads and the whole gap is filled in. And the piece is going to start to feel much more solid. You can see how now you got a nice set of lines here. All right, so in this next step, what I'm going to do is go into just the 2 11s. And then we are going to go into the middle 2 11s here in the center. They're between. So just the 2. Then I'm going to pick up this 2mm pearl that I've got. Now, as I said earlier, this is optional. You do not need this. You can use an 11 or an 8 in its place. If you don't happen to have a 2mm bead, just use one of the other ones. It'll work. So I'm coming up out of this set of beads here. I'm going to go directly across to the other 2. And this will pop the pearl right in the center. And there it is. It's popped right in the center. And if I turn it in the back, I basically went from these 2 beads, added the pearl there in the center, and then out of these 2 11s here. All right, so I'm coming out of these 2 11s, and as you can see my thread here, that's also where this pearl is connected. So there's the thread. So just go into the pearl. So this next step is completely optional. You do not have to do it if you don't want to, but I think it makes the piece look a lot nicer. So I am going to pick up an 11, and I am coming out of this part, so I'm going to go into the 11 here. So, or not the 11th, the other pearl. And so coming out this way, going in this way. Then picking up another one, and once again I'm just coming out of that one, going into this one. Alright, one more time here, or the next, actually this one is in this direction, so out and into the direction here. And the next one, and this one should be obvious. So that connects the pearls to each other and makes this piece look just a little more finished in my opinion, and it feels a lot more solid. So now what you need to do is, so pay attention. So if you look, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but the thread, I'm coming out of that pearl, and the thread where the pearl is connected to the seed beads is actually coming out, and I'm going basically straight into the 2 11s here and then up into the point. And so this is a finished unit, except if it was an end unit. For an end unit, you need the clasp for the, or you need the loop for the clasp. So we're going to go ahead and make that. So I'm going to pick up 4 11s and go back through the bead and the point. So it doesn't matter which of the points, but this is sort of the quickest one to do. So you're coming out of that point. Go ahead and pick up or go through the next 11. So I've done 4 and gone around this one. Then go into the one more 11 here. Just, you're not adding anything else. Then pick up an 11. Go into the next 11, and again pick up an 11, go into the next 11, and the last one, pick up an 11, go into this last 2 11s. Alright, so you should have this diamond pattern. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and reinforce. So I'm just going through the beads again, making sure that this is my clasp loop is secure, because of course there's going to be quite a bit of movement in this area and a lot more stress in this area because of the clasp. So once you've gone around a few times, then I'll probably just do this one more time. So we just got to do this 2 beats at a time just because of the angle of the 11s. All right, so I am coming at, since I'm going through these 2 here, the 2 11s, and then just continuing forward. So what I want to do is, if this is the first unit, I want to be on the opposite side to be set up to continue to connect to my next component that I'll have to make. All right, and there it is. That is the finished piece that you want to be playing with, or you want to be making, I should say, rather. Anyway, so what you're going to do is repeat and make as many of these as you need. You do not need to do this last step that I did unless it's the last component. So only 2 of these components should you have that piece. And then in the next part, I'm going to show you how to connect all of it together. All right, so here I have built up my bracelet, and so I'm going to be connecting all of these pieces. So this procedure is exactly the same no matter what you're doing. You're going to leave some thread as you're making the components. You're going to have a little bit of extra thread that you're going to then go ahead and add the needle to, and then in order to connect the pieces to. So this component is finished, and I'm going to add it together, and then this is what I'm going to make in the middle. So I am going to make the same end triangle or diamond shape, but I need to use the 2 point beads on each component in order to finish the whole piece. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and pick up 4 11s and go back through the 11s on this one. And I'm just going to flip this over just because that can work in the upward direction. I'm going to go into that first 11 and pick up an 11 and go into the next one. So now, I don't need to pick up an 11. What I'm going to do is actually use this point in my component. So I'm going to go into the point bead in the component and then go into the next bead here. And then pick up an 11 and go into the next 2 11s. And make sure your thread doesn't get twisted like mine just did. So here's what the piece should look like. There's the connection. Now what I'm going to do is just reinforce this whole piece, or reinforce just the connection here. So I'm going to go back through the beads a couple of times. And so I'm just going to reinforce one more time. And so this will be up to you. Basically, it'll depend on the weight of the thread that you're using. I'm using a 6-pound fire line. And so if you happen to use, say, an 8-pound, you could probably get away with not having to go through this as many times because an 8-pound's a little stronger. The 6 is ideal in this case because we go through the raw units quite a few times. So okay, last 2 beads here. And now I'm going to go ahead and go up. So I'm coming out of that center bead, and I just am going to make my way over the next 2 11s here. And I actually went one too far, so I'm just going to back out and then up into the purl. So the purl, actually the thread comes out, so that'll still follow the thread path. And now I can tie 1/2 inch knots. So what I'm going to do is go into the 11 here and do a 1/2 inch knot here next to my purl. And then go into the purl and the 11 and do another one. And we should be just about done. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and trim my thread. All right, so last part is to add the clasp. So in my case, what I'm going to do is go ahead and add my jump rings. Where's my other one? There we go. Through the 2 loops here, and then add my clasp here. So I will show you how to do that next. All right, so I went ahead and added on the jump rings, and there is my bracelet. And to go, if you've missed the earlier part, as I said, this goes with the stud earrings here, or the post earrings is what I'm trying to say. I guess you could, not really studs, but post earrings. And there's the cute little set. If you you can make several more of these components and actually turn it into a necklace. And this is actually a very pretty set, you know, for a bride or I don't know, some other formal type event, or not as mother of the bride, so bridesmaids, or at least a cute bracelet that you can do. Just to give you some ideas. And of course you don't have to use pearls. You can use any 4mm bead, so you can change it up and make this into other colors. I mean, the combinations are endless. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one.